On March 15th, we commemorate the Martyrs Agapius, Publius, Timolaus, Romulus, two named Dionysius and two named Alexander at Caesarea in Palestine, the Hieromartyr Alexander of Side in Pamphylia, and the Martyr Nicander of Egypt. The holy martyrs Agapius, Publius, Paucis, Timolaus, Romulus, Alexander, Dionysius, and Dionysius suffered under the Emperor Diocletian 284-305 in the city of Palestinian Caesarea. During one of the pagan festivals, they began to torture and execute Christians who refused to offer sacrifice to idols. The martyr Timolaus, commemorated on August 19th, was sentenced to burning, and the martyrs Agapius and Thecla, also commemorated on August 19th, were sentenced to be torn apart by wild beasts. A group of young Christians, Publius, Timolaus, Alexander, another Alexander, Dionysius, and Romulus, the subdeacon of the Diospolis church, decided to confess their faith and suffer for Christ. As a sign of their voluntary deed, they tied their own hands behind their backs and appeared before the governor Urbanus. Seeing their youth, the governor tried to persuade them to reconsider their decision, but in vain. He then threw them in prison, where there were already two Christians, Agapius and his servant Dionysius. All these saints were subjected to terrible tortures and beheaded. The Hieromartyr Alexander was from Side, Pamphylia. He suffered for Christ during the persecution under the Emperor Aurelian 270-275. The saint was interrogated by the governor Antonius and given over to fierce tortures. Miraculously preserved by the Lord, the saint underwent all the tortures with surprising endurance, and finally he was beheaded. Just as the torturer Antoninus went from the judgment place, he was possessed by demons and perished in frenzied convulsions. The holy martyr Nicander suffered in Egypt under the Emperor Diocletian 284-305. He was a physician, and during a time of persecution he visited Christians in prison. He assisted them, brought them food, and buried the dead. Once he came to the place where the bodies of the martyrs were thrown to be eaten by wild beasts. Fearing to bury them by day, he waited for night and buried the bodies in a cover of darkness. They discovered St. Nicander and subjected him to terrible tortures. They skinned him alive and then beheaded him in 302.